All right, so this is going to be your final turn-in for your keying exercise, and this is what you are going to be giving me. All right, this is your final composite. Now, you'll be giving me alpha channels for both the actor and the crowd, right? So I'll need to check your mats for the actor, the main actor, the guy in the center, and then the crowd, right? So I want you guys to think of this as a production shot, and that you are finishing and turning in a final shot that's going to go into or go to editorial to be put into a reel. All right. So that means delivering something that looks finished, and what that all entails. So, like I said earlier, you guys can use any keyers that you want to pull your mats. So in this case, I'll show you what I'm doing here. All right, so here's your footage, all right, and you can see I've got it going through a couple different keyers. All right, this is the preferred way to work, right? You can see what I've done here is I've built the alpha channel off to the left. So all this that says mat creation, this is all my alpha that I've just created. Once I get my alpha the way I like it, I copy it into the original plate. That's what's happening here. So all this off to the left is getting copied in to the original plate's alpha channel, right? So what I'm doing in this case is creating what's called a core key, right? Which is a really, really high con key or high contrast key. I'm not worried about the edge detail in this key. What I'm worried about with the core key is making sure that the core or the middle of my mat doesn't have any holes in it. All right? If you have a hole in your mat, I usually take off 5 points a hole. All right? Because holes in mats are bad. All right? So with the core key, there's my core. And then I have what's called an edge key. The edge key is just for getting my edge. I don't care about these holes in my mat. And the reason why I don't care about it is because I have this core key that's going to fill them in. All right? So I have my edge key that's just for getting my edge. And then I have what's called a core key, which is just for getting the middle. These two get merged together with what's called a channel merge. A channel merge works just like a merge, but it's got a very specific type of operation called a union operation, which is why we like to use this when we're merging mats. If you guys remember from the lecture, I said you don't want values to go beyond 1 in your alpha channel. Well, this union operation limits you from doing that, or prohibits you from doing that. So you can merge mats together and you don't have to worry about values going beyond 1. So use the channel merge. Technically, yes, you could use a merge node, but you would just have to be very careful that you didn't have values in your alpha channel going beyond 1. All right? So I merge them together. So there's my core, my edge, they're merged together, right? So now I'm getting the best of both worlds here. I'm getting my edge from my edge key, and then I'm getting my core to kind of fill in those holes that were apparent in the edge. All right? From here, I start doing my mat and edge refinement. Like I said, this is where you're going to spend the majority of your time. The initial key, that doesn't take you too long to do. All right? It's refining your edge, which will take time. So look what I'm doing here. I'm isolating areas of the image. So this area here that I need to affect, right? And then I'm masking it off, and then with the color corrections. So you can see this part of the cup was a little too transparent. That's a common issue I see where students, just that part of the cup is just completely gone, just disappeared. So what I've done is I've isolated it, and yes, you do have to animate because he does move. So I'm animating this mask, and then I'm doing my refinement. In this case, it's a gamma adjustment on that area of the mat, right? Also looks like I'm doing an erode too, just to kind of erode from that area as well, which again could be a dilate if you're calling it in, or not if you're calling it in, but it could be a dilate depending on how you're using it. All right, so let's look at this one. What is this one doing? Oh, so this one's for his hair, right? Maybe I needed more, again, paying attention to that edge detail. It needs more of a softer fall off. So I isolate its hair and I blur it out, right? Again, the edge refinement, more edge refinements, eroding a little bit, blurring a little bit. Let's look and see what this one is. All right. Oh, I got some garbage in the frame. You guys see it? Probably not. There you go. You can see that? I got the garbage in the frame. So isolate it and just remove it. Finally, make sure everything's okay, I clamped my values so nothing goes beyond 1 or below 0. And then again, it gets copied into the original plate. So there's my original plate that's been hue corrected, and there is the alpha channel, right? So here's the stream of the original plate. Kind of comes this way, goes this way, and then comes down, okay? And there is my hue correct. So in this case, I'm doing the hue correct before the alpha gets copied in. So I do not need to worry about doing any type of unpremulting because the alpha's not there yet, right? Okay, and that would be one of your mats that you would render out. So you would render this out. This is one of your turn-ins, all right? Everyone clear on that? On that setup? Again, this isn't, you don't have to follow it like me. I don't want you guys thinking like that, where you're just kind of following, clicking, doing what I'm doing, because you're not learning. You're just kind of copying, right? You guys build your mats based off of the techniques that I've shown you. You guys can use whatever keyers you want. You can use the keyer, you can use the IBK, you can use Primat if you like. Primat's a little bit different than Keylight. Keylight's all slider based, so you're grabbing sliders and dragging them around. Primat's more like you're painting, so you're brushing or painting over pixels that you want to get rid of, and you're painting or brushing over pixels that you want to keep. Again, whatever keyers you guys want to use to get your work done is fine, all right? Just keep in mind how I grade you, it's on your edge, and making sure you don't have any holes in your mat. Common areas I see, problems, of course, are the cup. This area, which is always difficult around areas like this, when keys, and you have like these kind of holes, or like these areas between legs, these tend to be tough areas to key. Just watch out for that area there. Again, you might need to isolate it with the mask and refine it a little bit. There's an area down here where there tends to be a hole that pops in down here, so make sure that hole down here doesn't pop in. Again, these are just common things I've seen students miss on this project that I'm trying to show you guys. Okay, so that is our main actor. So let's talk about the crowd here, because the crowd is considerably more difficult. Look at all these hairs. Look at this and this. This girl, this redhead, will drive you nuts. All right? So here's how we're going to handle this. All right? I want a nice, even key. I could spend probably a whole week on how you would extract her hair. All right? And there's many different methods on doing this, and techniques, and tricks. All right? What I want from you guys is a nice, even key. And the reason why is because if we look at it in the nature of the composite, once you get down here, she's going to be in the foreground and she's going to be out of focus. So we can get away with not having the best hair key for her, all right? I don't want you guys having a mental breakdown because you can't pull her hair. It's happened before, all right? So we're going to give a nice clean key. So again, I'm denoising. This is going to be a step that we skip for you guys. But what I'm doing here is I'm super saturating the image. And the way I'm doing this is with a color space node. I'm just messing with these guys, trying to get something that, I'm just playing around. I'm just going through and trying to get something that looks really super saturated that I can use. All right. Again, you can manipulate the image however you want to pull a matte. We're not going to use this for our final look. We're just using this color space or making the saturation super saturated just to help us pull the matte. All right, so do whatever you want to do. If you don't want to use a color space, you could do maybe a saturation node, bring the saturation node in, and just like really saturate the image to try to help pull a key. Again, whatever techniques you need to do. And then I'm just doing a key light, which it looks like because of this. There we go. Look out for areas like this and areas like this in your in the crowd. And it looks like I've got some of the roads. In this case, I probably need to go add screen, a little bit of screen gain in there. And maybe click my blacks a little bit. There we go. And push my whites up. All right. So again, something like this, it's fine for your mat. Again, I want a nice, clean looking mat. What I don't want to see is holes in your mat. And again, pay attention to making sure that there's no, see look, I still have holes here. See all these holes here? So how I would fix this, again, mat help, right? So create a roto underneath it and fill this in. You could paint this in too if you wanted to use the paint instead. And again, just make sure that it stays where it needs to stay, right? Move it. And any other holes that you would see, again, just use your mat help, whatever techniques you need to get a good looking mat. So this gets copied in. And this has already been, again, here's the stream of our actual plate right here. It's getting copied in. This has already been hue corrected. And we pre-molt. And then I'm adding a defocus in, but we'll talk about that here just now. All right, so let's disable these. So when you're building your shot, if you were just to put it together like this is what it would look like, right? That doesn't look good at all. Like, compose this shot. Make it look good. Move your crowd around. In this case, I used a transform. So I kind of scaled them up and I kind of move them down, right? So they look like they're closer to the camera. And it also looks like he's on some stair steps or steps, kind of like looking down at the crowd here. So compose the shot. Like I said, I want you guys just to think of this as you're finishing a shot that needs to get put into the show, all right? And defocus them. Throw them out of focus. Put a defocus node on and blur them out. Now don't go too far with it. That's way too much, right? But add a little bit of depth into the shot. So you can see I'm kind of defocusing them. I'm going to go to my background here. And you can see I'm defocusing it a little bit. What I did here was I isolated the pillars so they don't get defocused. You can see if I increase this, you can see what it's kind of doing, right? All right, and then go ahead and start to build your composite. All right. So in this case, I have added, again, we've done our transform. We kind of moved it, set it up so it looks, compositionally looks correct. And then I'm going to do my color lookup, right? I'm going to add my color to it, right? My overall look to the image, my tint. Now, I'm just going to kind of heighten what I've done or what's already in the shot. So we're going to go into, let's go into our blues. And let's remove a little bit of blues out of our midtones, which is going to throw this more into the yellow range. All right, and then I'm going to go into my reds and the highs. I'm going to push my reds up in the highs a little bit. Then I'll do my master, and we'll do our S-curve. We'll try to simulate that kind of look of film. That's what this is mimicking or representing. And if it's too strong, which just looks too strong, right? You remember, you have the mix slider in the actual node. So just mix it into taste. So I'd go maybe about to 6 or 7 or so, just to get my overall look, all right? And again, you guys can color it how you want. Again, like I said, I'm just kind of accentuating the values that are already there. If you guys want to kind of go a different route, it's up to you. I'm adding in a little bit of lens distortion, so you can see what that's doing to the edges. Again, we're going for believable results, so we're adding in all of our camera artifacts at this point. Now I'm doing my chromatic aberration. So I separated it this way, magenta and green, transformed the green, scaled it up just a little bit, and then plussed them together, right? And that's giving me this, right? Again, you guys can do it how you guys did it in your basic comp with the God rays, or you can do it with a transform mask node. All those can create this chromatic aberration effect, right? And then finally at the bottom, I'm adding grain to everything. Now you guys aren't going to do it like this. You guys need to add grain to your background though. The background plate does not have grain, all right? So I showed you guys how you can manually match grain, or you can use the furnace core regrain node. So what you would do is take your furnace core, let's do this, regrain node, go to your background, paste this in, all right, plug it into your background, and use the grain source from the original plate. And that will add, that's my denoise, that will add the grain to your background. So what it's doing is it's grabbing the grain from this guy and it's adding it to your background. So if I look at my background, let's load this in the viewer, there we go. There you can see the grain being added. So without it and with it. Can you guys see it? You guys can see it, right? Okay. So you can add your grain in that way. You only have to add it to the background because, of course, your foreground will have it and your crowd will have it as well. I am doing the denoise through this process, so but you guys don't have to. You can skip this and just add the grain to the background. That would be fine too. Denoising will help keying. So if you are having problems with keying, you can try to denoise and see if you can get a better result. And again, like I said, use these techniques. Try to saturate your image to see if that can help pull a key. All right, whatever you need to do to kind of get the shot looking good. So that is basically your project for tonight. All right, so is everyone clear on this, what they need to do? Speak now, right? These are the 3 things you're turning in with your comp, with these guys, right? I got to set it up so it makes sense to me. Okay, all right. You'll set up 3 write nodes, right, in your script. You'll render this dude, the map for the main actor, your crowd map, and then your comp. Now, if you set these up, you gotta have write 1, write 2, write 3. What you can do is make sure that their render order is 1, 2, 3. So let's go to 1, render order 1, write node 2, we'll say render order 2, write node 3, say render order 3, all right? And then you can just go up to render all write nodes, and that will just render everything out at once. All right, so you can just get it all done at once. All right, so let's go over the key light node and then the Primat. Let me show you how those are used, and then I'll let you guys go. Okay. So like I said, use whatever you want. Let's go with Primat, because like I said, Primat's a little bit different. Some students kind of prefer to use Primat, which is fine. The way Primat works, you can see you've got all these options. Look at all this stuff. All right. We're primarily just going to stick in this operations area here with Primat. Right? So the first thing you need to do is you need to tell Primat the color that you want to remove. So holding down Command and clicking in the green will start to remove that color. Right? So let's go ahead and work in the alpha channel by hitting A on the keyboard. And the next thing we need to do is right here in this operations where it says actions, we want to clean background noise. All this noise that's in the background, we want to get rid of that. So we'd go to clean background noise. And this is where I said it's like painting, because you hold down Command and you just start to kind of paint over areas that you want to get rid of. Right? Maybe over here, get rid of all this. And just let it do its thing while it's thinking. And just keep kind of painting over, getting all these guys here. What you can even do is hold down Shift Command and kind of get a range of values to try to paint out. Now you want to be very careful that you don't actually hit your foreground. That's the one thing about Primat, is if I touch my foreground, I'm going to completely screw it up. And the undo in Primat sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't, all right? So just be careful when you're doing this that you don't touch your actual mat. You can see how I'm going around the edge here. I'm just holding down Command. I'm just kind of painting over these pixels that I want to get rid of. And maybe something like that. You get these types of things, you can just kind of paint over and remove them. Maybe here, get rid of that. Okay, so now that I've cleaned the background noise, the next thing I need to do is clean foreground noise. So this, you do want to pay attention to the matte, and you want to stay within the matte. This is to push values to white, cleaning foreground noise. So if you guys can see these values here, yeah, you can. Holding down Command, you can kind of push these values to white here. And find any other holes in the matte. Again, there's usually a hole down here at the bottom, so make sure there's no hole down there at the bottom. And that's essentially using Primatte. Now you can see we still got a lot of junk and garbage in the shot, which I could clean up with our garbage matte. Now, the way I showed you guys before was doing it in the actual chain, right, of our alpha, where we're doing a little matte help, and we do this, and then I do something like this, right? You can do it like this, or let me show you how you could do it through a merge node. Right. Okay, so doing it like this and then setting it to minus, right, that would work. Now, if you wanted to do it through a merge, which Kalel may show you to do it this way, which is fine, do it as an A and a B, right, and yep, I knew that was going to happen. That's 1080 and this is 720. All right. Okay, and set the operation to alt, right? And basically everything that's underneath this shape, as an alt operation, it'll get rid of it. The good thing about doing it this way is that you don't have to worry about clamping values because it'll do it for you. It won't let values go beyond 1 or below 0. All right, so you could do it that way if you wanted to set it as an alt, or you could just do, well, if you did the shape the different way, so let's do another shape. Let's say you drew the shape around the guy, like this. So you do something like this. All right, just set it to an N. And that means whatever's inside the shape, it'll keep. Whatever's outside the shape, it gets rid of, okay? Or you could do it through the chain, however you want to do it. Now, once you get it set up like this, then you just copy it in to the original plate. So K on the keyboard for a copy node, and you just do a copy like this. So now your original plate has that alpha channel. And then you can go ahead and pre-molt and go ahead and go on. All right. So that's using the Primatte node. All right. Now, let me show you Keylight. All right. So Keylight, again, completely different. You've got all these different inputs. You've got an in matte. That's basically what we just did here. You could do that in the actual node. You've got an out matte, which is what I just showed you. So you could plug these mattes directly in here if you needed to. An in matte, right? And you have a background, which is similar to how the background on the IBK works. It doesn't necessarily do the composite. It's just for the spill correction. Now, I don't like Keynote spill correction necessarily, so I just use Keylight primarily for generating alphas. So let's talk about how that works. Again, Keylight is a hue keyer. So it can pull any color you want, but you need to tell it the color that you want. So under screen color, if you click the little eyedropper, with Keylight you need to hold down Option and Command and click, and you can see it's starting to pull the key. If I hit A on the keyboard, that is the alpha it's giving us. So the way Keylight works, we kind of start at the top and work our way down. And yes, there's a lot of settings in Keylight. All right. For what we're doing, most of these settings you guys won't need to use. But you can see light green screens can get very complicated. That's why they give you all these options for very complicated green screen shots or keys. So the first thing I want to do, again, this is slider base. Let's up the screen gain, which will just give me a little bit more of a contrast before it does the key. And you can see it's already looking better just with the screen gain of 1.1. Now I didn't go higher than 1.1, and with your screen gain, I wouldn't go any more than that. And then we can start adjusting our blacks and our white values. So we can start to clip blacks to get rid of these blacks. All right. And if we got values here in the center, we could clip whites to kind of get rid of those in the center. Again, look at my edge. You can see I'm completely destroying my edge. This is why you have in the node, you have your own dilate. So I could erode or dilate. This is all in Keylight. And then I could even increase softness if I wanted to. So you could kind of get a little bit of that edge detail back, right, using Keylight. And that's pretty much all you'll need to work with, is you'll pretty much stay in your screen matte area when you're using Keylight, all right? So you guys can use whichever ones you want to use. Like I said, I don't mind. When I open your scripts, I just want to see your mattes and I want to see your composites looking good. All right? Everyone good? Everyone other than Amanda? Everyone good? All right, so everyone knows what they need to do. Let's talk about your turn-ins for Sunday. And let's just go over so everyone knows what they need to submit. I'll go ahead and stop the screen flow.